as you get started and as you finish, you want to look at a couple of things. So the reason for the first key spoke, you want to have it on the logo match up with your valve core. And this also allows room for your pump hose. As you finish lacing and when you're all done, you want to have also a pattern. So you've got like these parallel cords that are totally, a pattern in the wheel. And I think 27 or 28 spoke hoops are different from 32 spoke hoops, the way these parallel patterns form. But as you back up, you can see them. So the other thing to go over is if you think about, why you have two different size spokes. The drive side is a shorter spoke because the cassette takes so much space. That means the drive side flange is closer to the hoop, actually. It's not as far out. We talk about boost, right? So that cassette's is way out there. On the non-drive side, it takes a longer spoke because the hub itself is wider and the spoke needs to reach out further to get to the non-drive side flange sitting over here. So this space from here to the hoop is greater compared to the other side because it flares out and there's more dish to get it. And so that's why you have two different spoke sizes. Continuing on with measuring for dish, I just do this, and that's flush, and you just have some way to measure. And I'll just take a picture. It looks like it's 46 millimeters, and that's a point of reference. Another note on setting dish, you could use a expensive tool. What I do is, when there's still some truing to be done, put it in the bike. You can measure there that, let me try and get a better angle. Each side is about the same, so it's centered. When figuring out the first key spoke, if it's a 2 cross pattern, you count 2 from here. 1, 2. If it's a 3, 1, 2, 3, like mine. When you're threading or lacing over and under, it goes over, under a spoke, like mine, or if it's a 4, you count 4 and drop the first key spoke in the hole. That's your first key spoke. So you drop that in. And that's your first key spoke. Now I've dropped on the drive side flange the key spoke, the first key spoke, and every other hole around that drive side flange. And so now I look for the valve stem, which is indicated with the blue tape, and I go 1 hole to the left of it, and that's where I put this first key spoke. So once again, this is the first key spoke. There's the drive side flange. Every 4 holes, you just keep going around. It's symmetrical, so it's gonna wind up spacing itself out perfectly. Every 4 holes in your drive side flange. First step is complete. Once you've chosen the spoke hole to the right, so this would be center to the first key spoke, you drop on the non-drive side flange your second key spoke. Now I'm working on the non-drive flange. I've flipped the hoop so you can see my fingers are on the non-drive side flange, and I'm trying to identify the second key spoke Now taped up here, you can see on the hoop is the valve hole, and then the first key spoke, I'm supposed to follow it down, and then remember, I look for the spoke where it meets the flange, and then directly opposite center is that tape, and then it's the first spoke hole to the right is where I drop the second key spoke. So I've just dropped in the second key spoke on the non-drive side flange, and I'll just drop in every other hole right now on the non-drive side flange. All right, so I'm on the non-drive side flange. I've dropped in every other hole, the spokes. My finger is touching the second key spoke, and I'm going to put it just to the right. So the first hole to the right of where the first key spoke is in the hoop. And for reference, you can see that's blue tape indicates where the valve hole is. And once again, we've selected for the non-drive side the longer spokes. So just working around every fourth hole, you attach the spoke to the hoop, or you can think of it as to the right of the spokes that are already attached. You got to set, so if you're holding the non-drive side part of the hub, and then you got to set that turn it clockwise, so you set that slant. Important on the drive side is the pulling spoke. So when lacing up a wheel, the way we're doing it here, you're going to have, as illustrated, pulling spokes, and it has something to do with the torque, but that's what this is all about. When you're threading or lacing over and under, it goes over, under a spoke, and then the next available spoke hole. The wheel's laced up, everything's super slack. Look at that, I mean, just everything's really loose. I'm going to thread each spoke so it's flush with the last thread. As you tension the spokes, you're gonna be working on the dish, and you're going to see that the drive side has more tension than the non-drive side. You just slowly finesse it and true it and work on the dish. Getting everything seated and stressing it, putting quite a bit of weight. I could actually stand on this. These spokes are strong.